coming to you live in the sense that we are recording this live, but we are going to be playing it back for you later on. Welcome back to another edition of the FwooshCast, and I am so glad to welcome back after what seems like it's been forever, and I don't know why that is. We get to bring back designer extraordinaire from Super7. Kyle Wlodyga is back to join us. Kyle, welcome back to the FwooshCast.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I don't know about the extraordinaire part, but I do agree it has been too long, sir.
It's weird because, I mean, we talk fairly often, but it's like aligning this has just been, I've been busy. I know you've been busy. The second half of this year has just been a total hurricane. So
I mean, you mean we're two adults with separate lives and full jobs and we live across the country from each other. How do we not see each other more often?
It's weird. Yeah, imagine that. But okay, so I know we saw each other at San Diego, then at Toy Fair. But how have you been? I mean, outside of the walls of when you're having fun but kind of working at the same time.
Oh, sure. I'm good. I've been going to a lot of concerts this year, like a record number of concerts for me, which is pretty crazy. But I think that's just because a lot of people were not on tour during pandemic and post-pandemic, and now 2023 for whatever reason was like the year everyone hit the road again.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun. My bank account is very upset, but my heart is very full and my ears are ringing. So I think I'm doing good.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's only money, and you're right. I think a lot of shows have picked up, which has kind of been cool because it seems like in the past several months too, you guys. There's been a lot of new music stuff that's been coming out from you guys too. So you mentioned that, and I just kind of thought of that together. And it's like things are aligning nicely on that front. That's cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. And actually, I had the privilege, I guess, of being able to see Metallica 3 times this year.
Wow!
And I had never seen them before, and the timing worked out that I was able to take the Cliff Burton Ultimate deco sample that I got to the show.
Yeah.
And they played Call of Cthulhu and Orion and stuff. And it was a very cool, kind of full circle moment. It was pretty fun. So
that's awesome. A couple years ago, I hit the road and went to Denver to go see the Descendants and took Milo with me and got some pictures with Milo at the show. So that was kind of cool.
That's cool. See, I'm not the only one who brings toys to concerts.
I know. Your tiny facsimiles that you're associated with are making their ways to the big stages. So
that's right. Yeah. Some might say it's the first time that original band has been reunited since 1986. Who knows?
That's true. That's a good point. Well, awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that you have been having fun because you've also been working hard on stuff, and we've got some stuff that I think would be fun to talk about. I mean, I want to kind of talk through this time of year and getting to the goal line, but at the same time, I don't think it can be understated how much has really happened since Toy Fair and San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, I've got an open space behind me now that's going to be filled soon enough by a giant cat's lair. So I guess maybe since I've talked quite a bit about that, with you and with Brian as well, but I kind of wanted to, get your take on turning around such a massive project and it really I don't know if it's a risky undertaking, but a large undertaking to present something like that and getting it up and turned around quickly and sold, and it's going to happen now. I mean, does that feel different than other projects from a design standpoint as far as your experience goes?
I would say I mean, I worked on Snake Mountain, but full disclosure, that was mostly done by 4 Horsemen, and I think even Mattel had a version of it at one point. And so when I kind of came in to work on it, most of that design work was done. And while I was not lead project manager, whatever, I was very much involved with that, and it's part of the larger team that worked on it and the design decisions. And we're gonna put the garage in here, we're gonna put the the dining room and the table over here, and that figuring out what goes where and talking through it as a larger group and a team was actually a pretty fun exercise, because like I said, when I did Snake Mountain, it was a lot of QC checks, going to China, like checking like the outputs and the molds and that kind of stuff, which was fun. But like the true like design work, this is how it's going to work, this is how it's going to function, this is how it's going to look, like that. This was probably the most involved I've been with on a playset for that, because I've done like the Party Wagon and I worked on the Cats, the Thunder Tank, sorry, yeah, and they're just different, right?
Yeah.
It's you expect, I don't know, for me the vehicle, it's like it rolls and you know it's got the arms or it shoots a thing,
Yeah,
but then like for those play sets like that, there's almost like you almost have to like envision the lifestyle around it a little bit. Does that make sense? Like where it's gonna fit. And like I remember very specifically, you were like at Comic-Con, you asked me like, how big is it? I need to start planning it.
Of all the things, I walk into the booth and I see the cat player there, and I look at you and it's like, hey, how big is that table? Because I really need to know.
True. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was interesting, and there was it was cool because I think it's also one of the first things I worked on that's had light up features. Mm-hmm. So that's been pretty cool. It's on its way. It's at the factory now. I think they're working on the outputs and stuff before they get into tooling and all that. So wow. They're, something that big, there's a lot of like back and forth on the 3D file stage where it's like factory's gonna do this to make it functional, but we're like, that doesn't look great, let's do this. And it's like there's a few more rounds of it on that one. So but it feels good to, because a lot of people were excited about it. I realize that it's not, perhaps the most practical space-wise thing to do. But neither was Snake Mountain. So, it is cool though that like people responded to it so positively. So
yeah, well,
it's exciting.
I'm excited for it for sure. And believe it or not, I talk to Robo quite a bit, and I have to check myself every time because he calls the damn thing Thunder Mountain, like Big Thunder Mountain. And it's like, he's almost got me calling the Cat Slayer Thunder Mountain now. So I'm like, well, what's the space for Thunder Mountain, the Cat Slayer, so it's like,
I almost called the Thunder Tank the Cat's Tank not 30 seconds ago. So
well that's okay because you call that a vehicle and you mentioned it before, but Cat Slayer is coming, but another large project that you worked on is getting ready to deliver now very soon, and that
I think some people are getting it.
Yeah, I think like some people in Asia are starting to get theirs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I saw a couple of people on Facebook groups are starting to get theirs as well. I've seen the Party Wagon. Sorry, I realized we didn't say it.
Yeah.
I keep seeing pictures of the box. Nobody's opening it, which is weird. I haven't seen anyone open it yet. There's like, yeah, I got it. But then I see, our lovely friends at NECA. I see their van all over the place, but I see no one opening our van yet. But I think that's because it hasn't hit stateside yet.
Yeah. So, you kind of had a version of it at Toy Fair. Is that like the most along physical piece?
Yeah, that was it. That was the production one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you've messed with it. You've held it.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your nostalgia review? Try and remember back 800 years ago to October. How you felt about it.
Right. It's well, first of all, and I know I say this about a lot of the stuff actually that you guys make, is that in space people aren't ready for how large it is yet, because it is big. I mean, if you think about how upscaled the Ultimates figures are compared to the vintage, if the vintage one is your like compass for this, you're not ready for it. And because it actually kind of competes, and I mean, it's taller, so it kind of competes size-wise with the Thunder Tank, which I wasn't like at all prepared for. It's like, it's not as wide, but it's like as a physical piece, it's I don't think of it as being any smaller than that, strangely. And the functionality of it, it's nice that I don't know. I love the vintage Party Wagon with all my heart, but the everything in the back seat except for the foot riser is just plain molded yellow seats. It wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, but this is like bringing a lot more detail and functionality to it. So
yeah, I mean that vintage one I think drafts top to bottom. And ours is triple layered.
Yeah.
Outside, inside, and then there's like the window layer too. So
wow.
It's definitely, I think it's definitely at least on par with the weight of the Cat's tank, as we called it. So I would actually be curious to see like if there's a way I'm sure there is a way to calculate it, but like the actual volume of plastic on a Thunder tank versus the Party Wagon, I feel like they're pretty close.
Yeah. So. I agree with that for sure. And plus this, not that I'm necessarily advocating for taking a collectible that costs several $100s, but this baby it can go
it's
push that down the driveway and it's gonna fly. So.
Yeah, it's got really nice wheels. The axles are good. When we first got the test shot samples and we were testing it, like they hadn't like polished the like holes that received the steel axles and stuff, and so it screeched so loud. Like imagine like nails on a chalkboard but like over a stadium loudspeaker. Like that's what. So yeah, all these videos were like, oh, does it roll? And it's like and you're like, oh no, turn that volume way down. It was bad, but now it's good. I'm happy to say that it's a nice smooth ride now, and the pizza spinners actually work. So if you're rolling it and then you stop it, they'll continue a little bit.
That's awesome. Well, and that's good because I kind of wanted to ask you a two-part question about it. Is that like number one, like what's your just like favorite overall part of the Party Wagon? And then the second part is that what would you say about it as far as like experience working on it or bringing it to life, or maybe something about it that people wouldn't like necessarily know, right?
Yeah. I think I really enjoy the like extra accessories that come with it, that like for each turtle, only because, and I'm, we're a Donnie family here on the FwooshCast.
That's damn right.
And I feel a little bad, but I kind of always saw this Party Wagon as basically an accessory for Donnie. So like from the beginning, I wanted the welding mask. I wanted the blowtorch. I wanted the thing I wanted him to be able to work on the van. I had very early on, I had like a vision of like the toy photography. Again, you try and think of like the lifestyle people live around these products too. Like I very clearly had this vision of like, we need to get we got to do this whole kit and all this stuff so Donnie can like work on the van. That's going to be the toy photography shot people are going to do, is him with the torch and working on it and that kind of stuff. So that's always been like, I don't know, weirdly like my North Star for it.
I completely agree with you on that, because I know that like on the cartoon, it was common like for April to drive the van and the other turtles to do so as well. But man, I'm telling you, when I was a kid, nobody drove the van or piloted the blimp except Donatello. He was the only one who could he became the best driver, but he was like the one that could like do all of the things that the driver would have to do in order to like have the best results or whatever. So I agree. This is an elaborate accessory for Donatello. I think that is the perfect way.
It's an accessory pack for Donnie. And then there's also stuff for the other brothers. So no, it was a lot of it was done like by Four Horsemen, and then we like tweaked a good chunk of it, and then we were trying to figure out what accessory should it come with to elevate it. Designing, I think the one that surprised me the most was the Roadkill Mouser. I didn't think that would work as well as it would. And then there was an exercise of like, how do we, there's like on those vintage figures, there's like all those like little details that you miss, and because they're not painted or whatever, and sort of like, what's an unpainted detail that we could add to this van that's like part of it. And so that's where the pizza tire treads came in, which was cool, because I'll have to see if I can find it, but there's like a page of like, I think I did like 8 different tire tread patterns, and there's a whole world of design of tire tread patterns that I had no idea about. So that was fun. And then I think the thing that was like maybe a little behind the scenes part of it was I was, like I said, I really was like almost myopic about like it's gotta come with like tools so Donnie can fix it. And so I called my friend who is an auto mechanic, and he fixes motorcycles and vans and like, you know, did racing mechanics and stuff like that for a long time. And I was like, okay, if you had like one toolkit that, you know, you use to fix every kind of vehicle that you have, and it was maybe with like found parts from like Harbor Freight or something, what would be the pieces in the thing? And he goes, dead blow mallet, acetylene blow torch, socket wrench, adjusted wrench, both types of screwdrivers. And then, so that's all of the things that are in there are like his actual like recommended things, plus a plunger because it's turtles and you have to have fun. So
dang. So
real world research.
I was gonna say, if you blow a flat in like the Bronx or something like that, or you know the engine falls out, the main tools are gonna be there.
Exactly. I think in hindsight, I would have given him a little like turtle jack or something.
I
don't know if we can get one to function, but it would just be a little slug or something. But
well, I mean, you know, the turtles like power ratings like wildly fluctuate. So I mean, I think if you're like on the near upper end of it, I mean, the other three can just lift the damn thing up while he's working.
I was thinking about it, like maybe they like Mikey or maybe Raph, because he's, you know, strongest forever, just like have him go in his shell and like shove him underneath it, and then you can take the tire off.
Stacking it, stack the shells. Well, that's cool. That's for you know, a fantastical vehicle with pizza spinners and windows that open, shields that open front out. It's good to know that real world experience is bringing us the proper tools to take with it. So
well, I mean, it's about, you know, mutagen turtles and talking rhinos and all that fun stuff, but like you got to have it grounded a little bit in reality, because that's, you know, it helps you believe the fantastical nature of the whole thing. So
well, that's really awesome. And I think one of the things that I'm taken by that I don't think it's a point that people would necessarily take for granted, but maybe it's not like one of the most apparent things. I think when people are going to start getting this is just like how many of like the turtles buddies that they're going to be able to pack into that van and take with them. That it can hold. I mean, these are large figures, and this van accommodates. I mean, most of them. There are some that are like wildly huge that maybe won't fit in there quite as comfortably, but a lot of them are. You know, you're going to be able to haul the whole crew.
For sure. You can fit all four brothers in there, plus two more, like comfortably. But like, you know, if you're using skinny ones like Casey or April, you could probably add like an Ace Duck or somebody else in there. You might have like a harder time with like a Slash or a Bebop and a Rocksteady, but like you can fit a Splinter in there and that kind of stuff. So,
well, you know, I've had a chance to talk to Brian a few times, and every time everybody wants an update on like, hey, when's the turtle van going to get here and whatnot, and it may be close, but it looks like, you know, at least stateside, some people are gonna have a turtley Christmas.
I think that's been the plan, is to try and get it out before, you know, holiday. What I will say is that is a whole department that I am not involved in. So,
and you know, it will be there soon after, and it'll be great when it does get here. So I'm looking forward to getting it and having it in hand, and I think it would be like a worthy exercise to, you know, maybe sit and talk about it sometime once it's here and can like
let's do a live unboxing.
Didn't
we do that with something? What did we do that with? I already forgot.
It was something.
You didn't have me on for Snake Mountain, I don't think.
No, because
we weren't talking then.
Well, and that was one of those things that's like, I don't know how this is going to go because this thing is so huge. The video might end up being stupid, but I don't know. I can't remember if it was like a series or something like that, or yeah, but we need to do that.
Yeah, I'm down.
But we're gonna have to do it like it's like, all right, it's set to arrive on this day, and we like have to record the next day or whatever because I'm so impatient that I can't.
That's fine.
I can't wait for it because I was actually going to see a few weeks ago about setting something up, and it's like, oh, and I just got the new Ninja Turtles series. Let's
Sure.
unbox that and talk about it. And it's like I just kept looking over at him, and I was like, no,
I'm not waiting.
it. So I'm just going to go with it because before we get in, because I mean, there's one open for pre-order right now that we're going to talk about, but man, the Genghis, I call it the Genghis Frog series because he's my favorite on there of this. It's like this series, like I don't know, it's after there being a little bit of a gap between releases, man, this wave came hard with Genghis and Rock. I think, Robot Rocksteady especially. It's a really fun wave.
Well, yeah, I mean, how long has it been? Like maybe a year since Wave 6 landed, which had Ace and Slash and all that stuff. So yeah. Feels good to have new Turtles, right? So
when he was revealed and whatnot, I was like, oh man, yeah, that Genghis looks really cool. But I keep telling people it's like he's the sleeper of the wave, because it's like, okay, yes, he's very true in tribute to the vintage figure, but there's so much more going on with this guy, and he's big and chunky, and the colors are great. He's definitely my favorite. How about you from that? Because we had Genghis, Rocksteady, and
where is he? I have him here. I have my favorite here. My favorite in this wave is
Space
my boy here. Yeah. Something about it, like, he's just super cool. I think I also got to have a little bit more fun with the accessories on this one. Like the secret Fugitoid on his
that is
communicator. The laser size, which I will always try to sneak as many Star Wars references into something as I can. So this one got not one but two.
Yeah.
So I'll take it with the laser size, and then the alternate helmet, which, let's be real, it's a Stormtrooper. Sorry, guys.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Typically, when it comes to these figures, I pose them out in their vintage tribute, unless I have multiples, right? And then I can do. But Space Cadet Raph, man, he's with the size and with the Turtle Trooper head on there, because those are too much fun.
Well, good. I'm glad that worked out, because I mean that's the new part. Those are the new parts. Those aren't even the classic parts. So try to have fun and add, try and elevate it, but also like kind of contribute to the larger Turtles canon a little bit too whenever I can. So I'm very proud of how clear this dome came out. I feel like that is not easy to do. I realize I'm flouting my own flute here a little bit, but that is very, I don't know, he looks cool.
No, you're absolutely right on that, because it's kind of on the same plane as like the Marvel Legends Hawkeye that came with the Sky Cycle. I don't know if you have that, but
I do.
The clear plastic shield on that, and as you said, the helmet bubble for Raph, they're very like similar in terms of like their clarity and what, because even a recent release that you can kind of compare it to is like the G.I. Joe classified Trouble Bubble. Those are great, and the plastic's very clear, but if you look at those three together, the Raph and the Sky Cycle are just kind of a level above as far as that clarity and whatnot goes. So yeah, I agree. It's very nice.
Well, good. I'm glad it worked out. There's a little bit of like insider baseball for you in there. Like when you do that clear plastic, specifically like ABS, which is like a little bit harder, it, at least in my experience, it tends to kind of yellow a little bit, like it wants to naturally be yellow, so you have to add a little bit of blue pigment to neutralize it and make it like the true clear. So
that's interesting, because that can happen, but then it can also happen over time, because when I got my, Ultimates Space Cadet RAF, I pulled the vintage one off the shelf, and it's a little cloudy, but also a little yellow as well. So yeah,
I'd be curious to go find one that's like, I don't know, can't do it because we don't have a time machine, but like one directly from then, like how clear was it really? Or do we have a memory of it being clear?
Right.
So,
that's true. Well, how the level of clarity, you're not quite as discriminating on it through, like 5 or 6 year old eyes looking.
True. And, kudos to the people who made the toys that, made us, but they also were not as discerning because it was not nearly as important back then. So
disposable playthings at the time.
That's right. Yeah. Future landfill.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that wave, I'm working on it right now. Maybe I'll get it up this week. It may be the week after, simply because it's
the holiday, man.
Holiday week, right? Yeah. I'm putting together of the ones that I personally own, which is a good deal of them. My top 10 Ultimates.
Nice.
So far. So
very good.
The list looks a little bit different than I thought it was even going to do when it popped in my brain to do something like this last summer, and it takes me months to actually get something like that done.
Yeah.
So,
I bet I can name 4 of them right now.
I think probably there are some obvious ones.
Slythe, Brute. Here, basically all of the reptilians. There's 4 right there. 40% of the list down.
So the brutes are going to get a shout out under the Slythe umbrella, but since they're so close, it was like I got to open it up a little bit more.
It's a little like Chappelle show. Name the 5 greatest rappers. Dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's cool, and there's more turtles that are in the works right now. I think still, because this was series 8.
Yes.
And I think series 9 with like Wingnut and Scumbug, I think that's going to come out before series 7 with Gorilla and them.
Yes, that sounds right. Yeah.
And then series 10 as well. I want to talk about 11 here just a second, because I think there are some cool things to talk about it with that. But I have to mention that we are now 3/4 of the way towards those, what I consider them to be the original vintage turtle variants.
I know.
Samurai Leo, Surfer Mike, and Space Cadet Raph. So, I know there's a lot of input and a lot of people who have their say as far as that goes. But man, finishing off that group would be a fun thing eventually. So keeping the.
I agree. Like we said earlier, we're a Donnie household.
Yeah.
So
and it's funny because I do I do this thing every Tuesday with for Turtle Tuesday, sets of turtles that are iterations or variations where all 4 of them
right. Yeah.
From all
I
4
love those posts.
Well, it's cool and it's fun, and I have learned I have way too many complete turtle sets, but I get a lot of people responding, and it's like, oh, where's this and where's that, and it's like, the Hose 'em Down Dawn and Make My Day Leo, and even Skateboarder Mike, if you want to throw him in there, that's a cool set. There wasn't a Raph there. The party ones, there wasn't a Donatello. The D&D ones, Raph was missing, I think, from that too. So
no, Night Mike.
Yeah,
Night Michelangelo never made it.
Yeah. So I'm still feeling that pain decades later about those unfinished variation grooves. So just putting it out there. But there is a little bit of a segue in there, because another turtle variation group is getting to bolster its ranks a little bit. The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimate Series 11 that is currently up for pre-order, and I am going to do a little screen share
cool.
so we can actually look at the things. that we are, talking about.
Let's do it.
Say, hey, right here on Super7.com,
That's right.
There is an all new wave of Ninja Turtles Ultimates, and some things are, and this is, I don't know. I think if I can say, with the change up that kind of had to happen with Series 10, and we'll talk about this guy here in a minute. I think people were kind of left like, oh gosh, what's going to be happening with Turtles Ultimates after 10? But I have been seeing, roundly positive, or at least in the places that I look, very, very positive response to this new assortment that features Rapper Mike, the Battle Damage slash Alpha, I guess, Foot Soldier, the return of the Rat King, and the brand new Ninja Nomad Leonardo. So there's a lot to unpack here. I want to go through each one of them kind of individually, but as a series that kind of coalesced together, I mean, how did this come together? Because it's got a lot of things going on and from a lot of different spaces, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, probably not a surprise to anybody. We kind of really pour over what goes into what assortment, and it changes, quite a bit sometimes, and pretty frequently sometimes. And obviously with the let's call it constructive criticism about Rat King, we felt that we needed to figure that out, because originally the plan was for Karai to be in this wave, which was, it was supposed to be kind of like half Foot, half Turtles. And obviously Karai and Leo are kind of linked in some storylines and stuff. So that was the thought process there. But then the constructive criticism happened, and so we switched them so we can take the time to really think about how to please everybody. And that's not to say that we were only aiming for the customer like positivity. It's, we also are indebted to our licensor and to shareholders and ourselves and creatively and all that stuff. So like, it's how do you try and check as many of those boxes as possible? Obviously fans want the vintage thing. We want to try and create new stuff and add to that larger canon. Licensor wants us to keep their brand relevant and profitable and that kind of stuff. And so there's a little bit of juggling that happens, and I think that we ultimately landed on something that for the most part checks all those boxes. I think
you ultimately did. Of course he's going to be the one that is not right here that I can pick from at the bottom, because I wanted to start with let's just cheat a little bit here. There we go. Let's talk.
All you had to type was R.
Yeah,
I know what you want.
I know. Let's start with our I guess our returning friend here, Rat King, because there are I'm very pleased to see that he is back. And I am very pleased with the new additions, and I think changes, alterations that you guys went in and made, which I'd like to talk through with you. But then I'm also quite pleased that there is a lot of things, or some very particular things that were held over in addition to the new things when he was originally revealed. So let's talk about Rat King from your perspective, design and whatnot, because as I said, there's some familiarity here based off of what we saw when Series 10 was solicited, but there's also some new stuff going on.
There is,
new old stuff, kind of,
So I mean, I've seen a few people comparing them side by side. I mean, the body is more or less the same. There's new details like the rats on the bandages and on his neck wrap, and we put the bones back in, and then the millipede and stuff. But like, other than that, it's that same base sculpt from before, but just painted differently. So I mean, it was ultimately like, it was always kind of there, which is fun to kind of realize if you aren't in the know. And then obviously you kind of get the more vintage inspired heads, but ultimatized, rare, elevated. And then you for those who were very nice and supportive,
Hot Rat King.
In the aftermath of that, Sexy Rat King returns here.
Yeah.
Which I always had a problem with him getting called hot or sexy. Like, he's not a good looking dude, at least to me. So he's not like a leper compared like the ones that are on the body. But he's also like he's not Brad Pitt either. So
I think relative hotness and sexiness. Sure. I mean, just looking right here. I'm glad because admittedly, I am of the camp that I would like to be able to, at least in close spirit. It doesn't have to be like verbatim, detail for detail, but at least in close spirit. I am in the camp of I like to be able to recreate close to the vintage with these. But at the same time, we just talked about it with Space Cadet Wrath.
Yeah.
It's new stuff too that helps to keep these things, interesting and pushing and adding to, the turtle lore itself. So having those options in a release like this, I think, is ultimately what is very successful here. Because if you like the vintage inspired, or maybe edging up the vintage with the scream there, or a complete different direction, which does, because I've talked about it with you, it does have its roots in reference to the license, right?
Yeah. It's not even really like we're inventing anything here. Like, it is a reference from video game and stuff. And that's the other thing, is like I talked about trying to navigate the waters of pleasing everybody, customers, licensors, all that stuff. Like I had mentioned, licensor wants to make sure that this brand is profitable and it is engaging and it keeps people going. It also needs to move the brand forward, because if we keep going back and looking at just what's been done before, like, and never inventing anything new, eventually the people that remember that stuff are not going to be around anymore.
Yeah.
And there's nothing for new fans to engage into, or even to look back on finally with their nostalgia glasses. So you have to innovate. You have to add some new spins to it, or else the brand stagnates and it's not interesting anymore. So,
well,
I can already hear the keyboards clacking.
Well,
on that comment.
I mean, that's the thing. People can have their feelings,
sure,
or opinions about that as much as they want, because people should. But that doesn't make what you said untrue. It's very true. And this is not something that is unique to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For goodness sake. Right. Yeah. And so another piece that comes with that is taking, what was there before and plussing it up, because something else that's new here is the cat, is the dead cat, right? Which absolutely has its roots in inspiration from the vintage, but it's a different piece. And I'd like to hear your thoughts behind, the design of it. But before you do, I want to say that when I was a kid, and my brother, he had Rat King because he had most of the bad guys. He and I were very much in agreement that cat belt it's like it was never on the figure, because it like hindered the movement of him and stuff like that. And it was a little crazy. I got to say that from a practical aspect of having a run over cat as a part of your stylistic choice, this feels more practical to me.
Yeah, it is essentially the belt, but just in a different position. It is now a bandolier.
Yeah.
So I also I try and I'm probably revealing too much of myself and my thought process here, but I love movies. I will try and put references in there to see if anybody catches them or whatever. But this essentially, it is the idea for a bandolier came from Josh, and then I doubled down on it, and I was like, we have to make it a bandolier, or like I don't even think I called it a bandolier. I think I called it a sash, because I wanted it to look like the lion that James Earl Jones wears in Coming to America, because he's a king. So that was the thought. Anyways, so if that makes you hate it even more, I'm sorry.
No,
it makes me
no, I'm just gonna ask now that you please sing the King song from Coming to America.
Oh yeah. Anybody who throws rose petals at my son's feet should have to answer to me.
That's pretty incredible, man. Because the moment that you can find inspiration to, as abstractly bring Ninja Turtles and Coming to America.
Some say it couldn't be done.
Some said yes, but it's always nice to prove them wrong. With
That's
this,
right.
but it's cool. It keeps that vintage kind of feel to it, as we talked, but it makes it just a little bit different. And like I said, something that it's, as a kid, and even in my vintage Ninja Turtle collection, he's not wearing the cat belt. It's just something that I wasn't, it wasn't one of my favorite pieces, but this figure posed out when it arrives is going to have this going on. So I think that's a really cool way of changing it up a little bit, but still bringing that feel, right?
Yeah. I mean, we try. So if you look at that main page, we started adding 360 videos that turn everything, so you can see there's actually kind of an Easter egg to the back of that guy as well. There's to connect it, it's connected by a rat, like grabbing the tail.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, hell,
there's another rat, because he's there's a way to that was done on purpose to kind of like, again, invoke that vintage figure, because the vintage figure has a big old rat across his back.
Yeah.
And rather than like adding that and having to like make the details more blown out and not nice so it could draft properly in ABS, we're like, well, let's just add it to the bandolier.
Yeah.
He's got rats on him otherwise. So,
I watched this and I didn't pick up on that originally. It's really that's the getting that, because that giant rat across his back is one of those, I mean, for being on his back, I think it's one of the most memorable ones in the figure, because it stuck out. And this is a great way of getting both of those things kind of accomplished here. So that's cool.
Yeah, we try and think of creative solutions like that. Like to me it's kind of almost the same way of like, we pulled the alien off of Space Cadet Raph's back, made it a separate accessory.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and then, to me, it looks like for the most part, the hands remain the same. And we also get the flute that definitely has its, roots in the Rat King, just from a different, a different spot from, so
there's a little bit of IDW in there, but I mean, he uses it in the game too, and I always thought of him as kind of Pied Pipery, in a way. So
and I mean, they played that up on the show too. But then we've got some of this, and maybe there's the
pop-ups. You looked at it too long.
Join Mummy Boy, but then you've got some new stuff over here, right? Yeah, so let's talk about this as a royal scepter. Is that
that is I think we call it the rat tail scepter, but it's it's perhaps the most like low hanging fruit, like bash you over the head with the concept, like he's a rat king. Get it? Like, so
but you know what?
It turned out pretty cute, at least.
It did. And you saying a rat tail scepter, I mean, the original design of Rat King, I mean, he was popular right in the time where it was like, it was fertile times to give the Rat King an actual rat tail hairdo, and nobody ever did that. I wonder why they never did that.
My guess is that it's the little rat tail would break off in plastic or whatever. So,
but yeah, the rat tail scepter is cool, and it's, you know, even bestowed the scepter gets a crown, wherein not even the Rat King wore a crown, but it's represented in his in his scepter. So that's good. And a like pipe knife,
sewer pipe knife.
Yes.
So just to, you know, it's a little bit of carrying home with you, you know.
Well,
so
this is one of those things where, I mean, it's a new accessory, but the thought process behind it, a sewer pipe knife accessory, I mean, you could have probably found that with 10 figures from the old days, something very similar, you know, to like the conceptually to that. So I think that aligns quite nicely too.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. And then
it's also just like a cool, like it's almost like a prison shiv also, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
that we got to put that in there. So.
Dang, he knows he's going hard now, for sure. But and then the rat with like the longest tail.
Yeah, and he's got big old buck teeth, so you can use him as a grappling hook.
Yeah,
that was the thought process there.
Climbing out of the sewer has never been so
That's right.
Gross. So so much of the original was
like 90% of the original is still in there.
Yeah. And just a few, you know, pieces put through. And like I said, I don't look everywhere for in fact, I'm probably bad because I'm not one of those people that go to actively look for, you know, feedback and responses on the internet very often. But I've got to say that this has as divided, I think, as opinions may have been before. I think for, you know, from the things that I've seen, the slight adjustments and the additions to what was already there has really made this something that, you know, people are into, especially kind of understanding, you know, what needs to happen and what is happening with pushing the brand forward, and stuff like this. So I feel like accessories are the biggest new take on some of the stuff here, either with newly things created or stuff that, you know, isn't included, right, with a figure like this. I
mean, that is where the most changes are happening. But you know, obviously people are focused on the heads, which is fine, because, you know, you want what you want. So totally get that. As long as I can still, like I said, make everybody happy, more or less, then we succeeded, I think. So
well, yeah, I think that the ability to, you know, make some changes literally midstream, I mean, after an initial announcement, come back.
It was basically the same day it went up that we started working on this one. So.
Well, I know that's a challenge, both logistically and I would have to think mentally as well, when met like with something like that. And I know that work in order to get then to a spot like this is not something that should be shortchanged, or you know, looked over, as far as that goes. But when you do get to this point and you bring it out and it's got your adjustments and changes, additions and whatnot to it, I mean, is it fulfilling then to like be like, okay, it feels like, you know, this is right? Or is it a different emotion than that? Because I mean, it's, you know, from a design aspect, it's, you know, it, like it or not, it's hitting a little closer to home with stuff like that, right?
Sure. Yeah. There's a little bit of a sigh of relief, as long as, you know, because we probably, at least my fragile artist ego, couldn't handle another lashing like the first one. But it's also a good, I think we've talked about it too, it's just a good way to try and practice and remind yourself, remind yourself and practice separating yourself from your work. Like, I am not my work. My work is not me. Is Sexy Rat King going to be my legacy? Probably. But that's why I was stressing, earlier, the importance of the constructive criticism and feedback, which is helpful because, there are quite a few people, and it's a very common thing that happens, that I will read opinions on the internet, on comments or whatever, and it's like, I agree with all of your points. I think you're 100% right. I think you're saying the right things. I think you're saying it in the absolute worst way possible.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. And if you would learn to constructively form your arguments, show, a little bit of empathy while you're writing it, it would go it would go a longer way, and it would make a bigger difference. So, and that I realize I'm saying you, I'm not specifically talking about you.
Well, I think it shows that even within that exercise or whatever it is that,
sure.
I've heard a lot of people at the same time say, hey, I am really glad that this original head is also included. And I think, honestly, that a lot of times when given options, people who may have been not into something suddenly find a new appreciation for that thing when it becomes an ability to have a choice made, instead of like the only thing. Because here's the thing, I've seen a lot of people say, hey, you know what, I wasn't really into like this look at first, but with these new ones, and now this, I'm glad that this one is included as well, because it is different. And, I actually want to see what it's like as like a new version of that. So it's a weird and
I think it's
uncomfortable exercise to go through. But I think that by making it an option, it's also gained some traction, right?
Well, I think it's one, it's like a meme and like almost part of toy history at this point. So that's pretty cool. I think it's also like human nature, and I mean, you have children. As soon as you take it away, be like, wait, no, I wanted that.
Yeah.
As soon as it's not an option at all, you're like, well, but I wanted that one. It's like, why did you say that before? So it's fine. There's also like a larger exercise in that, it's not just me. It's Flynn, it's Josh, it's the entire team. Like everybody, all of us approved. Like we're like, yes, this is the Rat King we want to make. And so it's not on any one person who, ruined your childhood with Rat King or whatever. It was all of us. But then collectively, it was also all of us who took a moment to decide, okay, let's go back and let's revisit and let's figure out how to make it better and how to again check those boxes for everybody.
Well, I think this now final version of the TMNT series Ultimate Series 11 Rat King is a winner.
Well, thank you. Let's hope it's the final version. How's that? There's one guy who hates coming to America and he doesn't want it in his Rat King, and now there's going to be a campaign. We have to do it again.
Oh, you let the rat out of the bag with that one. Like, there would have.
How long have you been holding on to that one? You've been waiting for that. Oh my God.
Oh no, it's quite excellent. All right, well, the return of the Rat King is we're very glad to that. But I'd like to move then to another figure, and I'm kind of going in order here. We're gonna get but one that I was talking about a little bit before too, because we were talking about Raph, as far as the Space Cadet, doing those original vintage variations. And we are now up to 3 of the rock and roll or music turtles, because Rapper Mike is here. So, and I've got to say, he's pretty, I don't want to say, oh, it's as know him or remember him, but he's, as far as iconography goes, I mean, he's hitting just about everything here, right? And there's still
Try to, yeah. There's still new stuff. There's some little changes here and there. You know, like I said, licensor has input, Flynn has input, I have input, that kind of stuff. So it still feels very much like the old one though, but you know, elevated. So I feel like this is a perhaps a little bit more successful exercise in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that the sunglasses are cool, now, because they have never been that way before, expression wise and hat color and all of that, and the shoes. The shoes are, you know, more dynamic now, I think, instead of, I can't turn around and look at it, but they're one solid color on the vintage, I think, right? And
I think so, yeah, they're all one solid color.
Yeah, and you know, the requisite chains are accounted for here, but also changed up a little bit, because that's not a clock. That's a piece.
It is not a clock. It felt perhaps a little bit more turtley to have like gold plated pizza or something on there. And also, you know, the standard's kind of been set that if somebody in that vintage line or vintage figure counterpart had a necklace, it then becomes an accessory that is removable.
Yeah.
So and you can choose to keep this part in or not. But Sergeant Bananas, my friend, toy photographer extraordinaire, that everybody knows, hates necklaces, hates when any person wears necklaces. Women are okay, but dude in necklaces specifically, absolutely not. It's
I thought you were going, he doesn't like toys with necklaces because they're fidgety.
It's gotten into that point. He hates necklaces, and so every figure, he's a huge Turtles fan, and every figure that has a necklace, he's like, make that removable for me. And so I just, everybody thinks that I did it because it's, you know, it's an extra accessory. I did it for Johnny, so Johnny can throw away his Ultimates figures.
No, not in this case, man, because
you need like the big clock or the big donkey rope or whatever. Like, it's great.
I love that they are separate pieces and removable, but like, even if like there wasn't a vintage reference for it, it's like Rapper Mike of this era. I mean, he almost looks bare ass naked without those things on.
I know, yeah, for sure.
So it's definitely needed. Okay, well,
and it ties into the rest of his stuff too, with his rings and his bracelets, and the super pack has the golden chucks too, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and the microphone nunchucks, those have their, you know, roots in the past as well.
But they didn't have real chains like this one will.
Yeah, so. and I like the matching orange on there. That's really nice as far as the thematic call to this character.
Turtles always accessorize.
So. Yeah. But then, you know, this is something that it's like, how is this not? I mean, it's a wonderful addition. I just can't believe that, you know, it's 2023 and this is like, well, yeah, he needs freaking headphones, right?
Sure. Yeah, there are some accessories that just sort of design themselves, where it's like it's just the next logical thing.
Yeah.
So, and I'd be curious to know, like, I need to look through my rad plastic or something like that. I'd be curious to know how many of the things that we add into there that I like have worked on that were originally part of that design that I just didn't, you know, that got cut for costing or whatever, and I just didn't know about, you know.
Right. So
I feel like this would be a safe bet.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, it's so intuitive that it's like. Yeah. To me, getting this figure, putting it on the shelf would feel weird to not have those on him, right?
Sure.
So,
yeah.
So yeah, that's that's fun, and it fits. I'm glad that it fits. It fits over the hat.
It should, yeah. And then same with the standard head, which both of those heads will work on your previous Michelangelos.
So what was the you know, thought and inspiration for this new this new head, because it's not the vintage inspired head that came out before. It's not the, reimagined head that came out with the original Michelangelo head. This one's fully different, right?
It is. It was more like that's the head. I guess I had thought of it as that's the head that you would use the headphones on.
Okay.
But also like I personally very much like the more realistic heads in those original ones. You and I have gone back and forth about it many a time. And so, it just felt like a safe kind of logical thing to like, okay, do the vintage expression, but in that like realistic style. And then it works out. So
I was going to say that I've seen a lot of feedback that it's like people like that first variant head on that first one, but this one almost feels more naturally amongst the rest of the other three.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, because the Mikey one is like, but because I actually use it on Surfer Mikey.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's what the kids call extra a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, see, it works because it's like there's almost like a motion and fun to it with that head sculpt. So
yeah. Oh.
So yeah, I don't know. I will probably, if this works and people like this, I would probably try and figure out a way to do that with the other brothers as well.
So then, needless to say, our color palette here is going to match that.
It's looking a little light to me in these renders. Yeah, I think it's much darker in person, but it'll match. So
cool. Well, he comes with a bevy of different hands for different. I like to think of some of these as being expressive hands, because I mean,
yes.
When you talk about hip hop artists or rappers or whatever, I mean, there's expression that comes with that, and especially for this era, I think it came out via different expressions, like and hands and things like that. So
I mean, you wanted to have the pointing ones because that made sense, gripping fists, but then the ones that are on him are for scratching on the turntable. And if you go to the 360 spin video on the main page, you can see that the boombox there is double-sided. So there's
I'll pause it. I'll pause it. Yeah, I missed it.
almost. It's quick. You gotta be quick. There you go. Yeah. So on the back side, there is the turntable, which is a little bit more vintage inspired. But then it just felt like, how do we optimize that accessory? And let's just make it two-sided, because you only use one side for toy photography. So
yeah. Now, the vintage one had like a strap that you could like put over him to but this would be more of like on a stand type of setup.
Yeah, you should. The plan is to make the handle removable, so you can like pull that off and then have it just look like a kind of turntable on a cool, on a box or whatever.
Was that a aesthetic or a functional change that you wanted to do to like give it more, because I mean, the vintage one was like it went around it, but you almost had to have it like flat.
Yeah, you couldn't make it level, right? And, obviously, like just the thought of like turntables like on a strap, like walking around, is like kind of ridiculous. Like Grandmaster Flash was awesome, and he did that, right? But it's I don't know, something about it. It felt weird to me, and it felt like the easiest solution was just make the handle removable, and now it's a different thing. So.
Well, the dual functionality of it coming out in essentially one accessory, that's pretty good. That's a cool way to do it, because it's as you said, it's a 2-in-1 accessory. Then
you get necessity is the mother of invention. If I had more tooling budget, would I have made two separate accessories? 100%. But it also feels a little bit more vintagey to have it be two-sided. So aga
again, this is brand new and it's really cool, but it's like it's very much at home within how the turtle, boombox that converts to the,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, because there are still the vintage references on this guy, like the hat and the shoes, and like the speakers on the back, that kind of fun stuff, and then the glasses and all that. I will say though, there's not really a good photo of it, which I feel like is a shame. But the rings say something different now.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because I can't read them, but I feel like
the
probably
vintage,
know what they say.
I do. Yeah. The vintage figure said Mike raps. Our figure says Mike drop.
Very nice.
So
that's cool.
And it's spelt like Mike.
Yeah.
So a little bit of play on words in there.
If after 30 some years you can't adjust your drip,
true. Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. I like it.
And then the other thing I was gonna point out, which is probably my favorite functionality on this guy, our boy Robo was correct in the weekly this past weekend. The hat is on a swivel. You can point it in any direction you want.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
forward, side, backwards, whatever. It'll spin all around. So if you want to have Pokemon trainer Mike, puts it to the side before he throws his Pokeball or whatever.
Well, it's funny because I don't know. It's just been about a week ago when I got the new Last Crusade Indiana Jones figure, and it's they boasted that it has a posable hat, and I mean it moves a little bit up and down, and granted it's very referential in a couple of those poses. It looks like a still from the movie. It's cool, but this this just takes that way forward because stylistically you can change attitude quite a bit. Figure like this depending on how the hat is posed. So
sure,
that's cool. It's just like a turn swivel.
It's just a swivel. Yeah. The up and down is interesting. Maybe that's the next hatted figure. I try and figure out how to do a ball joint so you can have it, he can sleep or he can he can be falling off in a mine cart or something, who knows.
Well, that's very cool. I like that a lot. And again, it's one of those things where when you have the option, it does a lot for you. So that's cool.
Yeah, I have not held the outputs in my hand yet. I really hope it works.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hopefully you'll maybe they'll let you show it off or something once you get it functionally where you want it to be, so we can see a video of it, because that'd be awesome. That's cool.
It'd be sweet. We'll see.
Well, rapper Mike, I mean, that just leaves I feel like with my favorite turtle and my favorite genre of music got matched up for this, and he's the first one out the gate with Punk or Dawn, but that just leaves Raphael, the heavy metal sort, and I've got to say I've been wondering about that figure, because I mean it's Super7,
true.
And they called him Heavy Metal Mike, which was really, I think, like hair metal Mike without the hair.
It was hair metal. It was basically Van Halen Raph.
He's
wearing like the David Lee Roth zebra pants, and it's like what if Raph was in Motley Crue? Which hair metal, I will fully admit to having a few guilty pleasure hair metal.
Nothing wrong with it
in my iPhone.
Nothing wrong with it, but I was going to say that I for that one being the one that is it will hopefully be coming, but it's the last of the four.
Yeah,
it feels like, as far as like metal style changes, I think it's probably, there's a lot of it that, because I mean, even like hip hop and stuff, this isn't like the main styling, but there's still like a lot of, you know, influence, or, you know, like throwback to some of that stuff. The punk stuff, obviously a lot of it remains the same. In classic rock, Leo, I mean, it's supposed to capture a certain time, but stylistically and music wise, metal's changed a lot over the years. So I've been wondering, it's like, man, it'll be interesting to see the direction that you guys go in for that one.
I mean, what I want to do is like reinvent it completely to make it like thrash metal rap with like a vest and, you know, hair and, you know, like a flying V and all that kind of stuff. But you know, if working on Rat King taught me anything, is if you go too far, you're gonna lose him. So there still has to be those references. You know, if I have to include the zebra pants, I will.
Well, so I feel like, you know, maybe some thought or adjustment here and there that keeps like the iconic look going could then like maybe lend itself to, you know, a variation down the line of like black metal rap or something like that you could pull.
All I want to do, all I want is a turtle in corpse paint.
There you go. That,
if I can do that, then I could retire.
That is pushing the brand forward.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Yes. Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, sorry, I had to reference that because
no, you're good. He's on my radar as well to get to.
But we still got a couple that I want to talk through with you from a design aspect, and not the stuff that hasn't been, you know, announced or shown yet. But this next one is what is being called battle damaged foot soldier, and it certainly is a battle damaged foot soldier, but there is a lot more going on here. So let's talk conceptually this one, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, partial retool on some of these parts, like the chest is new, the shoulder piece is new, and that leg is new. I have all those robot parts in there. Yeah. Everything else is and his little collar piece is new with like the tears and stuff. The rest of, and you know, the heads and whatnot, but like the rest of the body is just, you know, deco adjustments. Oh, and his little turtles thing on the left is broken. That's a new piece too.
Yes,
on his arm guard. Yeah, there.
Right there. Yeah.
So, but the rest of it is deco application, which is kind of crazy. Again, it's always a fun exercise to like see how different a figure can look if you paint it expertly. So,
but to add to that too, there's some swappable parts that
there are. So there's ones that, you know, make sense. You know, all the swappable hands from the previous ones, the pointing, the karate chop, the gripping, that kind of stuff. And then these two robot hands, again, are also two movie references. And I want to see if you can catch them without me explaining them.
Well, I always hate to guess wrong, and I think I might have an idea.
Okay.
But let's hear it.
Okay. I mean, that one is very much Terminator 2.
Yeah.
It's where he listen to me very carefully. Yeah. No, when he's at the Dyson's house. Yeah. He's showing them that he's the robot, right?
Yeah. Well, for later on, then I want the hand like
you want a thumbs up glove. Okay. You got it. And then that one on the left it's Darth Vader. It's when he gets his hand cut off in Jedi. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, this one to me was like, okay. Hopefully he says Terminator, so and like in my head I'm about that. But this one, now that you say it, I think it's as close to a reference as you would want to comfortably get there.
Yes, because I mean it's on the wrong side, but it does work in both sockets.
Okay, so that's awesome. That's awesome. So being able to add to, you know, the thematically via those, you know, switched out parts here and swappable hands, that's awesome. And for the most part, the accessories remain
are the same. Yeah, with
but
some,
the broken
kind of
sword. The broken sword is new, right? But
that is new. Yeah,
that lends itself to the theme.
Yeah.
But then there are two new heads on here that
that's right.
how they work just fine with a battle damaged body. Man, I'm glad I've got some, well,
Yeah.
more than a few foot soldiers, because this is where the figure starts to kind of transcend just being battle damaged, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit more added play value here.
So,
Obviously, the one on the left is directly from the show.
Yep. The Alpha One foot, which is cool.
Yep. And then the one on the right is from the flip head.
Yep.
Foot soldier, but slightly different in that this head's now in silver versus gold.
It was in gold, right?
It was in gold in the vintage line, but it felt more robot-y, more Terminator-y to have it be silver. So it made that change.
It matches, and yeah, as you said, it matches where the battle damage is coming through too. So that's cool. But to me, both of those exist perfectly on their own on a standard foot soldier body. And like I said, I'm glad I have more than a few of them, because I feel like I'm getting, ostensibly three new pose out here.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the extra army builders and you can pop those in there, it's it's almost like an accessory set too.
Yeah. So I mean, if there hasn't been a run on those, some of those standard foot soldiers that are hanging out there, this would be the time to grab a couple extra if you don't have them, because
they may or may not be on sale right now. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. So was this just was the inclusion of these two heads excuse me, just an opportunity to do it here because it was a new foot soldier that was fairly balanced from a new and reuse standpoint as far as this new offered version of it, or was this something that was planned as, okay, we're going to do this, but this absolutely has to be a part of it?
Originally, the first foot soldier had both of these heads included, and we felt that it was like it made it not just a standard foot soldier. We felt that they were more compelling with like a battle damage type thing. The first foot soldier in the wave, I mean, we're 4 years ago at this point, like just felt like it should be very standard, like the expected foot soldier, because it was, again, probably the first bad guy in the wave that most people saw. So these have been on our radar to do for a while, and it just felt like the next logical place to put them in. So
well, what I like you said, this one from a vintage aspect definitely has its roots. As you said, the color change was made there. I got to say that I actually like this. I like this in silver more, because the gold as a kid never made sense to me, because I don't know if like gold showed up much, if at all, at least in the like villainous color palettes of the line. So this makes sense aesthetically with the foot soldier more to me. So I prefer that. What I like about this is that this feels like, and I've talked about this before with certain characters, and ones, and a couple now that you've done, is that this has been a canonical foot soldier character for a long time, but it was something that didn't have any reference in the vintage toy line, whereas this is not the vintage toy line, and this is designed for the Ultimates line, but the shape and feel of this feels like it's almost recalling something that didn't exist, but if it did, this is how it would have been brought forward, right?
Sure. Yeah. Wow. That's if I can pull off that magic trick of like, I'll get a message the wave, the day a new wave, and it's like, hey, which vintage figure is this from? I can't find it. Yeah. It's like, haha, I gotcha.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it. Everybody has their own ideas of what they want out of a line like this, and what they, while I like, the vintage callbacks as well as some of the updates, I've always, really from day one been like, it's like, let's see some of that stuff that didn't happen in style. So I do appreciate seeing winks like this. So that's great. And that
wherever we can have the Easter eggs, like I was saying, I'm throwing in my own new ones with my movie reference.
Right. Well,
these older ones to people who know, then like I said, we're just checking off more boxes for more people. So on that note, I got a lot of compliments on the Ace Duck with the cigar head, which is from some of his original concept art, that kind of stuff. So
that's one of those that I've had to buy 2 of them so I could have that have both of those displayed, because I'm a big fan of that one. But all right, well, just the next foot soldier that's going to come along, let's get this one
the thumbs up hands. Okay. You got it.
Or even
you got, and I'll put it on a vertical hinge so you can point it up as it goes down.
Or if there's a figure that needs to just come with like a battle damaged foot arm for some reason, let's get
that's a good one.
So all right, well, we don't have to design on the fly here, but
no, I'm trying to think of what character would. I don't know. Maybe it's a new ultimate Raph or something.
I was gonna say maybe that could be something that finds a home in a new concept. Because I saved this one for last because I feel like you are the person to really talk about this, because this is something that feels new, even though there's like some, with like Gorilla and some of these other ones, there's some like fingers of this having been going on before. But this is Ninja Nomad Leonardo. And this figure is really a new variation concept that is original to Ultimates, and something that I'd like to talk about, the whole concept of it, the design and whatnot, but also what you were feeling, or what everybody was feeling leading up to the reveal of something like this, because this is brand new, but in like the old style. I don't know. That feels like it's even a step beyond things like, oh, we've got an Alpha 1 foot soldier head in the line now, right? So
sure.
How did this come to pass?
Well, I've mentioned it before, but like adding new stuff has been like part of the MO with the line from the beginning. And it perhaps with each kind of iteration we get a little bit more emboldened to do so. I think first iteration I can think of starting with that is like the heads for April. Right, she had the like cartoony kind of inspired real head, but then she also had the head, which didn't really happen. And then the mask for Samurai Leo, and Ace Duck coming with the cigar head, and like the Tommy gun, and like the anchor accessory for Ray Fillet, the fly fishing rod for Leatherhead, and stuff that like wasn't exactly there. Maybe the fly fishing rod was. I don't know. I don't think it was. But that we're always trying to like kind of add more, and then eventually, first real iteration is Gorilla, where it's that didn't exist. It's our own thing, but it also has a comic reference, and so we're kind of elevating that, creating like adding to that turtle canon, and then after that, it's Ninja April. Which feels like a vintage toy, but never had one. There's reference points to other vintage toys in it, but it is kind of its own thing. And so this it felt like, okay, we've done that with other supplemental characters. Like we should probably try it on a turtle now and see how that goes. So originally kind of the design thought, and I guess mandate kind of came down from Flynn of like, I would like to make, the thought was it was Ninja Turtles. Like, how do we, what does something like that look like? And so it was, all right, well, they all probably have different martial arts that they would specialize in or what have you. And so Leo was kind of the first experiment with that. And obviously he's got the swords, like there is like a straight up samurai Leo. And so what is how do you play with the samurai thought and theme with that same character, but in a different way? And so my thought is, Samurai Leo is when he, fully has a shogun that he works for or whatever. And I realize that some people think of them as like costumes or whatever, but like to me, like Samurai Leo is like him in full regalia working and, serving a shogun and whatever. But then, what happens if that shogun dies or he fails to protect that shogun and he is forced to, wander the sewers in search of a new shogun to work with? And that's what this is. That's what the ninja nomad aspect came from it. So it's very much Ronins, samurais without masters, that kind of thing. And there also just kind of is a way for me to do essentially Yojimbo, but with Leonardo.
Yeah.
And so there's themes there, like the poncho and the straw hat and the sandals, and you get a few little updates there, like there's new wraps on all of his arms and legs, and then the trash can lid hat and the straw, all very kind of, they're all very like, not, I guess, very core elements of kind of samurai movies and folklore and stuff. So that was the thought there, at least with him, was that it's almost like a sequel to Samurai Leo. It's like if that was him in his prime, this is him kind of after,
Yeah, that's very interesting to hear, and it makes a lot of sense when you say that now, because his Samurai Leo, I mean, his regalia is like, it looks like it cost a fortune.
Yeah, he's covered in gold and stuff, and like chain links and all that. I mean, he's got a full arsenal of stuff. And then, if he's out on his own, no master, no money, what's the one thing that a samurai owns? It's the swords.
Yeah. So. Well, how dare you make Leonardo awesome again?
I know it really pained me to have to start with him, but well, if I figured if I could make it work with the turtle I dislike the most, doing it on other ones, it would be so much easier.
Well, let's blow that out a little bit, man, because as you said, the ties, on his knees and his elbows, especially the way that it's tied, it looks more rustic. The belt obviously has a more rustic look to it, and it retains the L on the belt there. But that's a lot of fun. And of all the, like you said, no master, no money. If you're gonna have a hat, the trash can lid just like that embodies it literally from the top down, right? But to that point, these might be my favorite Leonardo swords that you guys have done so far, and we finally get the short sword that looks like it's going to have a home right where it should.
Yeah. So the first Samurai Leo had the short sword too.
Right. But
now it's thematically colored to Leonardo.
Well, not only that, but it almost feels like this is more important to this version of him even than the samurai one, because of now that you've explained it, like where he's at in his journey. Because after this,
that's true,
happens, right?
Man, I didn't even think about that dark ending. That's but and so because he is the more traditional samurai, obviously his belt loops can have the swords where they're traditionally kept. But because it's also turtles and it's also Leonardo, and I know some people feel that the swords always need to be on the back for Leo. If you get to that 3D spin,
that's where I was going. Yeah,
you can see that there is an option for both. You can put them on the back, or you can put them on the side of the belt as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, that's really I don't know. Hearing the thought process about this makes it. I mean, I really liked the design when I saw it, because I mean, Brian had alluded to it when I had spoken to him. It's like, hey, the next.
This is the one he was like, I hope people like it. So.
It's gonna be something different. So it's like, I knew something different was coming. I didn't have conceptually any real idea as to what that might look like. And it's like, I saw it and I was like, well, that's really, really cool, especially with some pieces, some specific pieces, but hearing the thought process and the story continuation of it makes this even cooler, man. So,
well, thank you, because it's, you know, you work on something like this with a character that is so important to our customers and fans that, like, it's you kind of invent something like that and you're like, oh man, I really hope this works, because like the only North Star you really have is your own gut. I mean, I obviously collect all this stuff. I mean, look behind me. So
yeah,
there's usually a good chance that what I think is cool, some other people think is cool, but I like Ghost too. So
yeah. Well, let's think about that for a second, though, because while I have a soft spot for many of the downright ridiculous vintage Ninja Turtle variation, I mean, they turned, I think it was just Donatello and Michelangelo, they turned them into farmers. For Pete's sake. And I mean, yes, it's wonderful in the most god awful, ridiculous ways, but taking the turtles to another variation of them not only holds them within the line, because you got to have, you know, the turtles, but it does push to new and different things, but in a way that it's like, I don't know, this feels like, and it is like kids who grew up with millions of these weird ass turtle variants thinking about, well, what variant actually makes sense in here. It's not classic birthday party Leonardo, it's freaking you know, Ninja Nomad Leonardo. So I really appreciate that. And even because it has to be, it's soft goods here, and it works great. And actually, I got to jump onto here because I don't even think you guys put it on. I'm
not sure what happened there, but I know what you're about to say. You're about to show. So I
think the picture, like, that everybody like really referenced as, okay, if I was going to be won over by this figure was going to win me. This is the shot that's doing it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because
it all comes together. I mean, you have to show
badass,
the wide shot with everything separated or whatever. But like, this was always the thought, you know. Yeah. Wandering the sewers with the poncho on, and exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. So one of the questions I was going to ask about this, but you kind of you didn't really answer it, but I feel like now I've got a better feel for it. I was going to ask, it's like, okay, here's Ninja Nomad Leonardo. Is next turtle up for like this reimagined or different feel? Is it thematically going to be within the realm of this, or is it going to be something, you know, completely different from this? Have you guys gotten to that point yet, or do you know how you want to take that? It's like, okay, are they all going to end up like this, or is Raphael going to be something completely different from here, right?
So I've gotten questions of like, are they all going to be Ninja Nomads? Are they all going to be, you know, like Ronins? Like, as cool as that would be, I feel like Last Ronin really answers that question as well. Yeah, and it gets very close and kind of dicey to that. And I don't want to like step on anybody's toes. And also, like, we have this one. This is so cool. Like, I feel like they're specifically like there are other things like the turtles the turtles have such different personalities. They wouldn't necessarily all follow the same path here that Leo does. You know, Leo likes to brood and he like chip on his shoulder. We got to do the right thing. Like, so this almost feels like a very like it's the, you know, logical kind of conclusion for Leo a little bit to me too. But then somebody like Raph might not do that. Somebody like Mikey might not do that. So what I've said before is that you can't really design any of the four brothers in a vacuum. Like, you can focus on one of them, but you ultimately have to think about the other three at the same time and how they look together kind of as a team. So we did develop all 4 of them at once, for better or worse on my workload insanity. But it ultimately is the better way to do it, in my opinion, because they will tie more thematically. I think I mentioned it before. They're all gonna kind of have different kind of martial arts that they're thinking about, but it won't necessarily be exactly like this, and it won't perhaps have the most logical like prequel to it, like I had said with Samurai Leonardo. But I still feel like it'll be within the realm of that character. It'll feel correct to them, while also still being our own thing. I realize that's not for everybody, but the best part is you don't have to buy all of these either. So.
Well, that's true, and I feel that there are a lot of risks involved with doing something like this, all from the most business focused financial and design risk, but also I think there's an emotional risk that comes with parlaying something like this and putting it forward. So you're right, it doesn't have to be for everybody, but I don't go actively looking for it, but I have seen a lot of very positive feedback to this as a concept, but also as a realization. And like I said, and it's this that really does it. I mean, this is badass. I get it. But at the same time, it does make me think about, gosh, how are the rest going to fill in? And I'm looking forward to seeing that. I am going to say, though, they're within the future releases themselves, or super pack inclusion or whatever. I gotta see this show up with at least 2 more of them, because I know you know what I'm thinking here, but holy crap. At least 3, why not 4 different weather representations of the Ninja Turtles would blow my mind straight wide open, sir.
Talking about movie references, right?
I would like that to be very blatant.
I mean, if you recognize that hat, then essentially. So that one's probably one of my less subtle movie references I've put in here. So, but it was fun to do. So,
well, I'm already I already know where to put the other 2, and then maybe the more wild and crazy one or the lighthearted one can find some new inspiration. But damn, man, I don't know.
I fully expect people to be impatient and buy a couple of these and just rip off that head and then make their own. So
I know of some very talented soft good tailors too that be like, hey, well, exactly. Regardless, I would say, and this may be cheesy, but I would say congratulations on this. Not only from, in my opinion, a successful design and an interesting direction, especially after that story. I'm gonna have to tell people you need to watch this to hear the thought process behind the storyline here, but also for taking a step with this line that continues with things like Rat King and Rapper Mike to be things that we're not expecting, but I guess comfortable with and wanting to see brought forward, but then also now pushing it to a new spot, because this figure is a lot of fun and I can't wait for it, man. I really can't.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, again, it is, I cannot stress enough what a team effort this all is. It was Flynn's original idea to do something new. It was my privilege to get to figure out what that looks like. And then there's a collaborative process of us talking through it and making sure it felt right and it was right for the character and right for what we wanted to do and all that stuff. And then on top of that, all of the amazing, people we work with in production and overseas and all that stuff. So it is a huge thing. I just get to be the one who's lucky enough to talk to you about it. And so well, it's been very cool, and it's been a very exciting opportunity to try and contribute to that larger Turtles canon. Because, like I said before, you kind of have to add new versions to these existing brands, or else they're just going to die eventually.
Well, I mean, it's no secret because Brian's put it out there that the wave after this is going to start to bring in thematically, another era of turtles. So I would imagine we're probably going to be,
we'll be talking again.
It's going to be spaced out a little bit, but I am very much looking forward to seeing how it's going to be. And it's like thinking, because my mind goes to my favorite turtle. It's like Leonardo in this context of like, okay, that battle damaged foot soldier for parting out almost like it's starting to make sense to me at a Donatello level now.
Sure.
Like, yeah, I could see that fitting in. Okay, but anyway, I haven't pulled up any of the package picks before, but don't think that I didn't catch this.
Sure. That, again, you gotta work with the licensors, make sure everybody's happy. That is more about the that's not necessarily. I realize some people was like, oh, it's the IDW logo or whatever it is. That is not how it was explained to us. It was explained to us as this is the World of Ninja Turtles logo. It's not specifically that era of toys or show or IDW. It's just this is their logo for overarching, Turtles branding.
Yeah.
Little, almost think of this as the Elseworlds Turtles logo in a way.
No. Well, I've tried to be more frugal or realistic, I guess, with my collection. Sure. I'm not buying doubles of as many things as I probably would have in the past, but this one is definitely going to get me because of that. I like to feel creative with my posing sometimes, usually I'm pretty vanilla, but it's like I got those fire escape shelves, on the wall. It's like this is pretty much exactly how this figure is going to look on one of the fire escape shelves that I've got over here. So
lovely.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Well, very good.
All right. Well, Kyle, there's always so much for us to talk about. So I am going to promise, as long as you don't mind giving your time to us getting back together a little bit more often.
Absolutely.
To have conversations. But thank you for being generous with your time, especially taking us through this new wave of Ninja Turtles, because it's exciting and I can't wait. We'll talk about the Turtle Van probably next, but I really definitely want to have this type of conversation going forward, especially on some of these new concepts that you guys are doing with this, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, as long as Flynn's cool with it. I'll keep showing up. So, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting us talk through it. I realize that some of this stuff is new, and change can be scary sometimes, but I promise we're not trying to ruin childhoods. We're just trying to elevate them, if anything. So I appreciate the time here, and it's cool to just hang out with you in this digital age. This is you being so far away, this is how we have to do it. So if other people can benefit from this hangout, then it's all the better for it.
And long live sexy rat kings and ninja.
That's right,
man. So
now come the days of the king.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, okay, all right. We're going to start getting the rings references in this line. Yep. All right, well, everybody, thanks for joining us again on another edition of the FwooshCast. As I said, we're going to have Kyle back real soon. But until next time, we'll catch you on the Fwoosh.